Hello, welcome to the Reloading Podcast here on the Firearms Radio Network, presented by Primary Arms. So tonight, we're going to have some fun. We started last week with basic brass prep. But as we were going along the show, both panelists and chat members were bringing up other things. So what I decided, kind of towards the end of the show, is I said, if Paul Nelson comes on, we'll go down the rabbit hole. Well, Paul's joined us. Phil Rabolay's also joined us. Sharenda's back. So, I mean, we got a full house tonight. But what we're going to do with this entire series, Paul and I got a chance to chat a bit yesterday. And so what we're going to do with this entire series is 1 week we're going to do a basic show. We're going to follow it up the next week with the same topic, but down the rabbit hole. So that way, you're not waiting. The people who want to know the advanced things, like bumping the shoulder back and neck turning and primer pocket prep and other things like that, isn't going to have to wait 6 or 8 weeks for us to get done with the basic cartridge series before we go back into more in-depth stuff. And plus, your basic reloader is going to get that first-hand knowledge, or they're going to get that knowledge on the first week, and they're going to get a little bit of in-depth the following week. So that's how we're going to run this series. Because let's face it, with rifle reloading, unlike handgun, there is so many different things that can take you down the rabbit hole really, really quick. So we wanted to make sure that we do our due diligence on that part of it too. All right, gang. So first off, like everybody, or like a lot of shows, we're going to see what we've been up to. Phil, I'll let you go first.
I guess it helps if I unmute myself. Like I was telling y'all before the show started, I've actually been figuring out ways not to expend ammunition because the price of ammunition, components, primers, everything has been freaking insane lately. So I've been spending lots of time here at the house, dry firing, burning in my Manus Technologies X10 Elite, and trying to get some training in that way. The one thing that has happened since I talked to all y'all last is that my daughter started joining me at the gun range. 9 years old. I've had a Chipmunk 22 sitting in the closet with her name on it for a while, and she finally got to like that age and responsibility level that I felt like she was ready for. She was ready to actually come out to the range and start punching paper, and brought her out to the range, gave her a good gun safety speech, like the 50,000th one she's had since she was born, and taught her the fundamentals of how to shoot a rifle and cut her loose. And the only rules being when your hands touch the gun, Dad has to be right here with you. And other than that, she's exercised amazing gun safety for a child her age. Took her probably about 200 rounds of ammunition, and she's whacking steel consistently, even at about 20, 25 yards. She's doing really well. I'm really impressed and happy with her. But, that's the one thing I get from every crusty, grumpy old range officer out there when they see this 9-year-old little girl show up with, her pink Converse on and her hair in pigtails. Is she's going shooting? Yep. Awesome job, Dad. So that's what I've been doing. I'm trying to raise the next generation of shooters and reloaders.
Excellent. It's so much fun to watch as that group starts from, about this. And as you just let them shoot and kind of give them little tips here and there, but you start to watch that group shrink and shrink and shrink and shrink. And that's just such an awesome thing to know that they're getting it. And it's not you. It's not you doing it. It's them learning and them realizing and them improving their skills. That's such a fun thing to watch.
Oh, look, the first time she heard steel ring, I mean, she literally got up out of her shooting position. She came off the stock, looked at me, and I swear the corners of her mouth were touching her earlobe. She was grinning so wide. It was, I think I have a beautiful kid, but it was truly one of those moments that has burned itself into my brain. I'll remember for the rest of my life, that look of just pure joy and excitement that she got it. And everything she's like, any advice she's needed along the way has been little stuff. It's been little things like I duct taped a 22 casing onto the stock right where she's supposed to set her cheek, so it's a consistent distance from the rear peep sight. It's been little stuff, and she's been soaking it up and doing really well with it. I knew I made a dent when my wife went. She spent a weekend away with her friends on a girls trip, and I asked my daughter, I'm like, hey, that morning it's just going to be you and me. Like, we can do whatever we want. What do you want to do? She said, I want to go to the gun range. I was like, yes, honey. We packed up. We packed a range bag and we went to the gun range.
Awesome.
So, which one of these lazy-eyed?
Phil, it doesn't get any better than what you did. It really doesn't.
I mean, look, I'm pretty sure I've shared pictures with all of y'all and with the Reloading podcast and with the, we in the reloading group of my daughter when she was like 4 years old, when she was helping me helping me size brass.
Mm-hmm.
Look, she's grown up. She's grown up in a house with reloading with guns, and I'm excited that she's finally that age she gets to really go for it herself. But it's the best thing I can tell everybody. I'm like, I've seen the statistics. I've heard everybody talking about, how we had like 8 million first-time gun buyers in 2020, and that's a huge, huge improvement. It's very encouraging. But the thing I tell everybody is, I'm like, every single person who owns a firearm and believes in the Second Amendment can make a difference if you just teach the next generation.
Yep.
That's how this keeps growing.
That's right. The children are the future. We have a volunteer to go next. Sharenda had her finger up. You want to go next, lady?
I was pointing at you, but I'll go next.
She's been busy.
You got
I have been busy. Let me see if I can sum this up real quick. So, the organization that I was one of the 4 founders of, we've partnered to have an event for starters with one other organization that we just discovered called Hunters of Color. And it's not limited, but it includes a wider variety of minorities, from Indigenous Native Americans all the way up to African Americans. So I'm really excited about that. First thing we're going to do is have a turkey call collaboration, and the proceeds are going into, I don't know if we're going to do like maybe a scholarship fund. Second thing we did was started our youth mentor program, where we're going to take 6 young women, minors, and we're going to, for a whole year, maybe a tad bit longer, we're going to mentor them on different hunts so they can cover multiple species. Also, I've been volunteering a lot to RSO and instruct women in basic firearm. Right now we're doing pistol. I don't know what we're going to do next. What else? A couple of personal hunts. I'm going on my first snow goose hunt this weekend. I'm going on another pheasant hunt tomorrow morning. I casted for the first time Sunday, and it was fun as hell.
Like with a fishing pole?
No, I meant shit. I casted bullets. Sorry,
Well,
I'm on a coffee
go.
sugar rush. So that was fun, and powder coated. Like, I went through the whole series from, as Jim corrected me, rendering, making some ingots, melting. I use a 6 cavity mold, a 2 cavity mold to get a feel for them, and powder coated. And I loaded up a few this afternoon, so I'm going to try to maybe go test them out tomorrow. I don't know.
And what'd you like better, the 2 cavity or the 6 cavity?
I definitely like the 6 cavity for the amount and the speed, but I need to practice at that 2 cavity a little bit longer.
It'll never be as fast as your 6 holder.
But I only have 2 cavities, so.
Yeah, well,
yeah.
Now you know, buy 6 cavity only if you can.
Yep. So that was cool, and I think I got some other stuff. Oh, and I've finally been learning how to tie fly
I
fishing
saw
tie,
that.
and
Those
I
are
just
looking nice too.
tied what 4 more in the last 48 hours. So I've been busy.
Yeah.
That's it.
Good job, lady. Good job.
Well, thank you.
Just remember to wear your PPE when you're casting
Yeah,
or rendering.
slacker.
PPE, personal protective equipment. You had your
I
glasses
know.
on there, but
I
them
know.
them delicate
Yeah.
little hands. You know what a burn's going to 700-degree burn is going to do to your skin?
Yeah.
Sharenda, break out those flip flops and those shorts. It's getting
Didn't know
ready
that
for
was
casting season.
So I know
The
this
guy in the
sounds
center with a bald head
right.
and the gray T-shirt that labeled Grump is the one that started that shit.
I know this is sounding counterproductive, but my gloves, the gloves I had were actually too big and I could not get a good grip
Yeah, I'm
on the
100%.
handles.
Jim promotes PPE, but honestly, I feel like because I've been in that same situation where those giant gloves, you're more likely to cause an accident with those giant gloves than if you have to take them off.
And I did. It slipped in my hand a couple of times, and I said, "Screw this." I
See-
just had to go ahead and
Yeah,
take them off.
sometimes those big welding gloves are not the way to go. If you're gonna wear leather gloves, you want to get some nice kind of tight fit ones.
This is the same school of thought that says if you don't put like a protective case on your smartphone, you're less likely to drop it, right? Because you're being more careful.
Right. But Jim, if it makes you feel better, I did order a smaller pair of gloves.
Okay, well, I was going to say a nice little compromise might be a lady's gardening glove made out of T-shirt material, but that's not going to give you much protection at all.
Yeah, I wouldn't even wear that. If you're gonna wear a leather glove, just get a nice kind of a tighter fit one.
Yep, I ordered some, so they should be here by the time I
Good.
get back from exterminating the snow geese.
The other thing is about if you use a leather glove, it's going to get hot from the heat and it's going to stiffen up. If you can, get a heavy fabric glove, as small as you can wear.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean double, triple layer fabric is what I mean.
I know what you meant.
Okay. And anyway, since you're trying to volunteer me, I pointing down, I point directly over you, and you pointing up. Never mind. The only thing I've been doing is answering questions again. One guy's really got me going down a rabbit hole with reloading his 308. He wants to take and bring his hunting bullets out to touch the rifling of his bolt gun. And my question is, if he's building hunting ammo, why does he need minute of angle accuracy?
Is it a 308 or is it just some 30 caliber?
308.
Okay, because I was thinking if it was something like a 300 Win Mag, maybe he's like shooting over the plains or something like
It's a 308
long-ish
Winchester.
distance.
308
Well-
Winchester caliber.
So maybe he subscribes to the theory that you should put your best foot forward and be as ethical as possible, and part of that is making the most accurate load as possible for
Good
hunting.
point.
There's an argument to be made there.
I didn't discourage him that way. I just don't see the point myself. But at the same time, he was showing me he was using sharp ogive bullets, sharply pointed bullets, but he doesn't have any. This is what he has in stock, and somehow he's convinced himself that engaging the rifling or coming off 15,000s or 10,000s off the rifling will give him better ammo. You know what? Let him go.
It depends on the bullet, though, because I mean, I went through down that rabbit hole with my 308 with Hornady AMAX and then Sierra Match Kings, and I found that the AMAX was at least in my gun, was crazy picky about loaded overall length and distance of the lands. Extremely picky. But the Match Kings don't seem to care. I've loaded those things long, short, halfway in the case, backwards, doesn't care. As long as they get the powder charge right, they fly.
That's because of the style of bullet that the Match King is set up for.
But I guess that's my point, is that depending on what style of bullet this guy's using, 15,000 off the lands may not make a bit of difference.
This is 180 grain.
Come on.
Round nose.
Shake that head, rattle it loose.
A round nose bullet.
Round nose bullet.
A round nose, not even like a spire point?
No, round nose. I don't see the point myself. The thing is, too, a round nose bullet, 180 grain round nose, is quite a bit shorter than a 180 grain sharp nose bow tail.
I will hypothesize that it ain't that the average rifle will probably not care the least little bit on that particular style bullet. That's just a shoot from the hip guess. All I will tell anybody that wants to go down that rabbit hole of a loaded overall length, 15,000s off the lands or touching with hunting ammunition, is try it. Because I've literally I've gone back and forth between two different kinds of bullets in my my 308. I stuck with the Sierras because
I encourage him, just try it.
I'll put you this way: the minute I got 4 rounds touching at 100 with the Sierra Match Kings, and I didn't have to I was able to use a more generous spread on my loaded overall length, and I didn't in other words, the Match Kings. I don't have to make as consistent and still get really consistent ammo. With the AMAX, everything had to be exactly perfect, or the group opened up.
The difference, though, is with a round nose, it's got the shank of the bullet is going to be shorter, really. It's going to have a longer ogive, but a shorter shank in order to make the weight and not build pressure. So he may run out of bullet shank to seat the bullet out in order to touch the lands.
Thank you, Paul. That's exactly what I warned him about, sitting it out too far. I warned him to try and leave at least one caliber of bullet inside the neck of the rifle, inside the neck of the cartridge.
Yeah.
At least one caliber. But, I wouldn't go any less than that because it's like with a bullet could flat fall out.
Right. Yeah, especially in a hunting round.
Exactly.
But at the other end, there's a lot of factory-built rifles that have tremendously long throats. So
that's the irony of it, though. They build a long throat, and yet they still put a box magazine in the rifle, and you got to load to the magazine, not the throat of the rifle.
Well, why they make gunsmiths?
Yeah, and that means a new barrel.
Well, that's as going through this today, what we're going to talk about here is that my barrel that I have has a free bore of point 0.345.
Holy shit!
Okay,
that's a lot of.
So that's the free bore on my gun. Okay, but it's designed to shoot lighter bullets. Only it's 110 to 155s. So
what's the twist on it?
1 in 13.
That'll do it.
For a 308?
For a 308.
That is really slow.
Well, the idea is to be able to shoot lighter bullets.
Yeah. I mean, it's perfectly appropriate for that. I was just continuing.
Yeah.
I was just shocked.
But it will stabilize 168s from Sierra. It will not, but the funny thing is it will not stabilize a Barnes VDL. Okay. So, it's funny. It's just looking how it works. But as a standard person buying a factory 308, he's going to get, if it's you never know what you're going to get with the Remington. And I've gotten people with Savages that are all over the place. They got a almost a half an inch of free bore on one end, and coming back the other way, you're looking at barely a caliber and a half. So each to its own rifle.
Mm-hmm. And this thing I always have to remind people, I'm like, there is one rifle that comes off the line that takes all the commonly accepted knowledge and pitches it out the window, and it just likes what it likes. That's why you hand load for them.
Yeah. Okay.
Sorry, I was muted. So I pretty much Cabela's and going through my brother's crap still. I thought I had most of it dealt with and into the house and had my wife's car back in the garage, but turns out that because he was living out in the country, there's a lot of pollen and crap all over his entire movie collection. So those went back out in the garage. Car went back outside. So till I get time to actually literally wipe every freaking DVD down. I gave away to my sister one of the, it's what, like 2 foot by 3 foot totes full of DVDs. I still have 4 more to go through. At least he had good taste. So, so that's what I've been doing, and editing the podcast in between. So, let's see here. Who's the next victim? Travis.
So I've been processing more 223 brass, and I made a little video, and I put it on our channel.
Look at you, fancy. Nick, what you been up to?
Been super busy with work. Other than that, went shooting on Saturday, just when I had to get out of the house. Didn't shoot a lot. I got a new buffer for my ARs. Wanted to try it out. Sister wanted to go shooting, so we took her shooting. And then Dad and I hand-loaded some 38 Special and 45 with some cast bullets that are powder-coated. Just want to try those out. Work good, so we're just going to continue working with those.
All right. And then, Paul, what you been up to?
Teaching my niece how to reload 9mm.
Nice.
Single stage.
So what that translated to me is child labor to keep reloading when you don't feel like
it's not child labor if they're related to
you. My niece is 36 years old. She bought her first 9mm handgun.
Wow.
Okay. And I told her to buy the bullets. She bought the bullets. I have the cases, the primer, the powder. Sat her down, had her size all the cases, seat all the primers, showed her how to load everything up. One at a time, putting the bullet on, going through the whole 9 yards, down to actually going through and taper crimping each one.
Cool.
Did you over?
Way to go, Uncle Paul.
Did you overwhelm her, Paul?
No, we just sat down and I just start with one thing. Here's 500 cases. Here's 500 primers. Sit down and just go for it. It just, I'll adjust the dies for you.
I feel like if I was to sit down with Paul to reload, I'd be like drinking from a fire hydrant. I'd just be so overwhelmed with the knowledge that you're throwing out there.
You're trying to just teach somebody how to start, right? You're not doing it. You're not a starter. You've already been doing this for years.
I'm not a finisher either.
Oh, well, I'll get you to finish. So you start them one, single stage loading. That's all. She was crying about spending $500 on 9mm ammo. Well, she spent $80 for bullets. Okay, start her that way.
How long did she take to load 500 rounds?
She hasn't finished 500 rounds.
Okay,
we got 250 loaded in 1 day.
Well, you know what? She's learned a lot, and the repetition teach her a lot. Uncle Paul, I think you did a great job.
So that was my little teaching. Now I get to go out and teach her how to shoot them now.
Mm-hmm.
Get some free reload and labor out of that too.
Not her. Nope. She's all her bullets. They're all hers. I said, these are all yours. That's it. I got boxes of them. I'm not worried about 9mm. I just want to teach somebody how to reload.
Amen to
and, that.
See, at least with a 36-year-old, you might be able to get them to process some brass for you if you wanted to. when I started teaching my daughter how to size cases, she smashed about 1/4 of the 45 cases I gave her. Like it took a minute to get her to understand that you had to have the case all the way in there and lined up before you went to run that handle, and she would just get into it with all of her little bitty body weight when she was about 5 years old. And I had so many cases that the very top of the rim is just kinked over because it wasn't lined up with die, or it was only halfway. It was only halfway in the.
We got to switch dies on you. You got to get you some tapered entry dies for you.
And they never gave me a problem, but you know.
Well, no, you just have to, you got a beginning reloader there. You got to just, work on it.
That's what we call adjust, aim, and fire for effect. after she smashed a couple of them, I was like, hold on a second, honey. make sure we push this all the way in, then pull the handle. Okay, Dad. And then we started getting brass process.
Most excellent. All right. So let's go climb down the rabbit hole.
Hold on. Did Jason have a turn? Did Nick have a turn?
I was going to say, did Nick not do anything?
I think Nick got a turn.
I went.
Yeah.
He
Jason
said
won.
he worked, and Michael is being polite because I never do anything, and Jim's just being an asshole.
Okay, Mr. Grump.
Oh, by the
He's
way,
got the
Jim.
shirt.
By the way, Jim, mark this time frame down. Like make a note of this second right now.
26:53.
All
I think
right.
you should make Trumbo bleep all of his own curse words
Tell
out.
the missus happy birthday.
Yay. Will do.
Happy birthday.
I'm going to turn my head and scream, but I'll mute myself.
Sharinda, your flies were awesome. The pictures you sent me, that was pretty cool.
Cool. Thanks. Because I used some of the stuff that you sent me, so I was like, oh, I gotta show Grumpy these. The nice Grumpy.
Right on. Did you catch a fish with one yet?
I don't even own a fly fishing pole. No, but I'll be ready.
You don't have to.
No, no, that is, that's the no word with me. You don't say you don't have to, because,
Okay.
yeah, it's like, yeah, Sharinda, you need two.
At least.
You could learn how to build your own rods.
Ooh, out of bamboo. Those are considered the best kind.
That saves money.
You should send me that info.
Hey. So my son, I fell for this trick already, Jason. My son came to me and said, hey, Dad, in school, we're building our own fly fishing rods. And when I got hit with the bill, it was $200-something for all the materials.
Oh, that's cheap.
And the thing's still not done. It's sitting right over there.
Well, at least Sharon will be footing her own bill.
Yeah. I need to win the lotto.
Don't we all? There's Paul.
Yep.
All right. So, Paul.
Yes.
Let's talk about primer pocket prep. You mean we have to do crap to the primer pockets?
Yeah, we got to do crap for the primer pockets. Primer pocket when you get it is one, it's going to be a little dirty, and it probably isn't straight if it's an American case like this Winchester. So if it isn't straight, or flat across the bottom, the force of the firing pin is going to push the primer in and then ignite it, giving you a kind of a delayed action. And we're a little talking a little precision here. So what we have is the case. We have large and small adjustable primer pocket reamers. For a large case here, We need to know the depth of the primer pocket. And so if I just throw this up here, and Travis has got one of those fancy ones where he doesn't have to do this, but I'm old and I do things a lot by hand, and I run this one up into what are we at? 128. So this primer pocket is 0.128. CCI large primer here is going to measure out at
Got to move it up just a hair so we can see it.
How about that? Can we see that?
Yep.
So that's going to measure out at 0.123. And it probably won't, it's too shiny to really focus on, but so just to let you know. So we got approximately between 3 and 5 thousandths, depending upon how accurate the primer pocket is as you go through the various cases. So, because not all of them are going to be the same, and not all of them are going to be the flat. So I take my reamer and measure that, and that's telling me I'm at 1225. I'll turn it this way so you guys can see it. So I would adjust that out a little bit, so I'm getting a little deeper on this, but just to show you, just as I turn this, and this is where everybody gets arthritis. We've taken a little bit off, taken the dirt out of it, but haven't really cut the primer pocket back any. So I would adjust this out and cut the primer pocket to, let's see here, the one that I've see, can we see that one, how nice and shiny that one is? And as a reamed out primer pocket set to that depth that we need for that primer. Different primers will measure differently. Federal is going to be a little shorter. CCI long rifle is a large rifle is what I gave you. CCI number 34s are going to be bigger still. And then when you get into Remingtons, they're kind of in between, but they all can grow, 3,000s, 4,000s, depending upon the lot numbers and how the brass cup was cut. If you, let's see. See if I can get this here. The anvil should come up and just protrude slightly above the brass cup, and we can't get this one to focus that close. Okay, but if you take the primer and and look at it, the anvil will stick up slightly on the legs. When we set the primer into the pocket, we are looking at putting stressing the legs into the primer pocket and into the cup. So as we press our primer in, we're tensioning that anvil against the primer material. So we're actually we cut out that, and the next action we're going to have is to check see if we have any problems with the flash hole, and deburr the flash hole. I've used a lot of different flash hole deburring tools, and I've come to the conclusion that this one from K&M is the best one because it limits you as how deep you can go, and the drill just removes the debris from around where the punch flash hole is. So if I would take a case, put it in, give it 2 turns, knock it out, we're good.
Paul, may I ask that
Sure.
you look at your monitor and hold your tools up a little higher in the center of the camera vision?
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Can we see that? How that one is got a shoulder on it, where it prevents prevents it from digging in any farther.
We see it. It's not well focused, but we see it.
Okay.
That's better. Thank you.
Yeah.
So, Paul, do you prefer that flash hole reamer over the other ones that have an adjustable stop that kind of stops it at the mouth?
Yes, I do. The reason being is that you're actually being stopped by the
flash hole itself,
by the case web. Okay, that won't go any farther than the case web itself. The other ones will give you will dig into the case web farther, kind of giving you like an ice cream cone type effect, of a funnel effect. And we all know that we all sit and look at Lapua and Peterson brass, and those are all drilled flash holes versus punched like we get with Winchester and Remington and Hornady and Federal. So this mimics that flat flash hole, and it's consistent. Your drill type that would have the funnel type on there, your case web is going to be different each time, and even between pieces of brass it will change, in the same lot.
So is there anything else that we need to do with primer pockets, or does that pretty much cover it?
That pretty much covers it. There is one other thing I could say, but it's really, really going down to the rabbit hole. Okay. Is that setting the primer in deeper a little bit at a time after you've developed your load. Okay. So in other words, let's say I have 4 thousandths of depth in my primer. Well, I may go 4.5 thousandths or maybe 5 thousandths to try to see if I get a different vibration through my barrel to see if it affects my group.
Okay.
You know, it's
Sort
you
of
know,
a question. Is
Sure.
that that technique about changing the primer seating depth? Is that sort of along the lines of like ladder load, developing a ladder load? You know, just
somewhat. What I'll do is I get a good load. Okay, what I consider a good load. Let's say a consistent half-inch group. Okay,
gotcha.
it will shoot better than that sometimes if I do my part. But consistently, I'm getting a half-inch group. Okay, with the dummy pulling the trigger. If I work at low at running that primer pocket a little deeper to see if I get an improvement, okay, that's a little farther down the rabbit hole than a lot of people want to go.
Yeah.
Well, it's the technique I'd never heard of, but you know what? That's where we're going tonight. It's the rabbit hole.
So
And Paul's the right guy to take you down that rabbit hole.
Oh yeah.
So the next thing we're going to do, we've gotten our primer pocket and our reamed out. We kind of know what primer we're going to use in it because we've reamed it to that depth. We're going to look at turning the necks. And why would we turn a neck? Two reasons. One is the chamber of your rifle is cut tight. So if your brass is too thick, it won't release the bullet evenly. And two is that you have problems like this one here that's had its neck turned already. But if we can see this black spot where I ran it, you can see the different thicknesses of the brass, where this is thinner here where it's black and thicker back here. If the bullet gets released and it gets up tight on the thicker side, the brass, and then the thinner side opens up more, your bullet's going to be is going to start to be cockeyed as it goes through the chamber, as the bullet's leaving and engraving in the rifling. So we try to get our bullet even, and the closer we get to being even, the more precise the release of the bullet in our chamber is going to be.
Now, Paul, why do we remove material on the outside versus the inside?
We can do both, but the outside we have the ability to control the inside by expanding the neck and forcing the anomalies to the outside.
Okay.
So I do have inside neck reamers, and those are used for when I'm having problems with a brass flow in this area right here of the neck. Okay, so what I would do is fire the brass, and then take that inside neck reamer if I'm getting brass flow into here and building up a shoulder. Okay, and I want to remove that shoulder so my bullet can seat down in here and not have a problem. So I can run an inside neck reamer in that, but an inside neck reamer won't even out the brass as far as thickness goes. Okay, so we'll take another shot down the rabbit hole, and got a nice piece of Winchester brass. And we're coming up at 0130, 34, 36, 31, 36, 39. Okay, so we're seeing an inconsistency in the thickness, and so we're going to try to make that even. And to do that, we have a neck turning tool, and with a carbide cutter and a 308 pilot, and expanding an expander for 308. This expands the neck, so we're getting it to the same pilot diameter as what our cutter is going to be. And we have to have something to hold the case, so we have our case holder, which can double. And for all you people with arthritis, can be mounted in your cordless drill. Okay. This uses a Lee priming shell holder to hold the case, and a large metal stud to press the case up against the rim.
Now, does that holder come with the handle when you order it, or is the holder a separate piece from the handle?
The holder is a separate piece from the handle.
Okay.
Okay.
Now, I do believe that you can buy that whole thing as a complete kit, though, Mike.
Yes.
I was looking at that same setup. They have a couple different options at that exact setup that he's showing us, and you can buy a whole kit with the carry case and everything.
Nice.
That'd be excellent. That would be excellent for loading in the field. Our CBS Summit case. Summit.
Yep.
Summit
Press.
I thought you had a problem.
Yep.
What Paul's accidentally shown us is the fact that the case neck is expanded, but it's not expanded enough. Looks like he dipped it in powdered graphite.
We have
the case.
We have Imperial
sizing wax.
Oh, my mistake.
Sizing wax, a dry lube.
I thought. Oh, okay. I thought it was graphite.
Yep.
Oh, that's the dry lube, not the wet one?
Dry lube. Yep.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Robin was talking to me about that at SHOT Show, but I haven't gotten a chance to follow up with him on that stuff. So.
Yep.
Now, what neck expanding die do you have there? I've never seen one.
This is an expanding die from K&M, and all it is just for. I'm gonna pull it out here and show it to you. All it is for, it's got a tapered section and a flat section and a stop.
Hold it up a little bit.
Okay. There's a stop right here, so the case when it goes in, it stops, and it'll stop the case up at the shoulder and stop you from going any
Okay,
farther.
so that threaded piece right there, that bottoms out on the.
It's just an adjustment. That's all, for however you want it to go. There's a stop is right.
Okay, I see it right there. Yep.
Yeah. The stop is right here, and it stops the case from going any farther, and it stops it from going into the
So do you prefer that right there over, say, like a Sinclair mandrel style neck
This
expander
is
setup? I know
well.
that's yeah. Go on.
This is just for opening up the case. This is a mandrel, basically.
Yes.
It's still a mandrel. But when I go to do my loading, I use and I size this back down because I've opened it up. And to resize this, I use pin gauges to set my case neck. So we have that there. Now it's asking us to push this in a little bit more. So I'm going to loosen this up. There's a dial here. I don't know if you can see the line, but every mark on here is 0.02 of an inch more. So I want to go this way. No. There we go. Got to remember the right way to go, guys.
So yeah, they've got quite the deal on here.
Yeah, there are quite a few nice little gadgets they sell.
Yeah,
Yeah, they've got some really high end stuff, and I think the prices are actually very reasonable too.
yeah, that they are.
Like that neck trimmer that he's got right there is way better than like the one that I've got. And I think mine's a Forester, but this K&N, it looks way better. Just
Yeah,
for use on your
it's only $54.
yeah. And you can look at that. It's all machined. It's got all nice pieces on there. That's a high end piece.
Yeah.
You if you're gonna buy it with the carbide cutter.
Yeah.
And it's a little more money.
Yeah, I think that one's $82.80 for the carbide one.
Yeah.
And the other nice thing that I'm seeing on this is you can actually choose the angle of the cutter.
It comes standard with a 50-degree cutter.
Yep.
And you run it all the way down to the neck junction. Okay. So you'll feel a little ridge with your fingernail right here.
Mm-hmm.
As you get it.
So now you're going and you've put it back in.
Put it back in. I'm just showing you.
You're going
You
through
know.
and showing the how it is or isn't.
How
The knob you're turning, is that turning the brass, or are you turning the brass by hand?
I'm turning the brass by hand. This knob here is giving me my depth
Okay.
of where I'm at with the.
Yeah, so just real quick for those that are listening, this measures the neck thickness. So the stem that's going straight up into the neck, it has a little ball on it, and that's what Paul is sticking the thickness of the neck onto. And then that dial that he's turning, it pushes what I'd call the measurement stick. It pushes that against the outside of the brass, which pushes everything against that ball on the upright piece, and he's able to rotate it in a way to measure in multiple spots and see how consistent his cut is, and see if he needs to remove more material to meet the thinnest part of that brass or not,
or go over it again, because sometimes it cuts in and you catch it a little bit, and you may want to just to touch it again. Now we're sitting at about 0.0128 to 127 1305.
We're talking less than half a thousandths.
Yeah.
Paul's adjusting the spindle. You can't see it because it's so highly polished, but the spindle of the micrometer is against the case neck outside, and the anvil or the ball mic, as they call it, or the tubing mic is the correct name, but whatever. The ball mic, the anvil is against the inside. It's a smaller radius in the inside of the case, so he can get when he touches the ball with the spindle, he's got a dead zero. Now he's got a micrometer here that can measure down to hundredths of a thousandths. That's 2 zeros beyond 3. That's 5 zeros. That's a hell of an instrument, Paul. Hell of an instrument.
And
that's in that one.
We're looking at your five digits there. Okay.
That's right.
So
5 digits to the right of the decimal point.
Right. So do you need to be this accurate?
Do you need to be that accurate? Most of us, no. But for bench thrusters, that's the cat's meow.
Yeah, but I find when you have something that precise, that's where you can start getting real frustrated because you start chasing numbers real quick.
Well, that's where we're at. We're in the rabbit's hole.
I would say probably 60% of the people pulling a trigger in this country will never be able to pull a trigger well enough that makes a difference.
Yep.
Exactly, Mike. You're 100%.
I couldn't right now, honestly. It would not make a difference to me. I will freely admit that. I am not a good enough shooter that difference would make a difference to me in my shooting.
Although there is the other personality that says, even if you don't look at it as my shooting lets this ammunition down, if you pursue reloading simply as its own separate hobby,
right,
then the fact that you can't shoot that ammunition to its ultimate capability is irrelevant. If what you're after is to see just how consistent you can make your ammo for the sake of doing it.
Exactly.
Then this kind of thing won't drive you crazy. It'll just turn you into a hermit.
Right. That's kind of the other side of the coin of what I was saying is, yeah, there's 60% that their shooting may never get good enough to make a difference. But then you have the group of people, like you were saying, Phil, it doesn't matter. It's how consistent can you get the ammo? Because that is the difference between reloading and hand loading. Is reloading, you're just cranking out ammo. You're taking components, you're slapping them together and calling it a day. Hand loading, it's what Phil said. How consistent can you make it? And that's what Paul's doing. He's obviously, if he's measuring five to the right of the decimal on a neck turn, that is precise.
And the other
Yeah.
thing I would just put out there to everybody is, think about that. Your ultimate accuracy is the variance of you, the loose nut behind the trigger, the variance of the firearm itself, barrel harmonics, and 10,000 other little things, the variance of the ammunition, the variance of the atmosphere. So if you can make ammunition that is notably more consistent than even if you are not Carlos Hathcock reincarnated, you might be able to shoot substantially better than the guy next to you because you've reduced one of those variances much to a much smaller degree than what your neighbor in the next shooting at the next shooting bench is able to.
Hell,
In other words,
that guy's probably using factory ammo. The next guy's using ammo that he'll never neck turn. And then you take and go put them up against a guy with a ball mic like this. Wow.
well, it's the reason why all your bench rest guys reload, because at that level, the variance of the ammunition is enough of a difference from one shooting bench to the next. You can't leave that on the table and shoot factory ammo, because the guy next to you is willing to do something you're not willing to, and he's going to beat you, even if you can outshoot him. Even if you have the same rifle he does, if his ammo is more consistent, he'll beat you because he's willing to go the extra mile to reduce that variance.
He developed a consistent
tolerance
that fits his gun.
Yeah,
I'm
in
trying
gym
to take
parlance, it's tolerance stacking.
I'm trying to take the air out of the ammunition.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, if I can take all the air out of the ammunition, the only thing that's behind it is me and the trigger. I take a bench rest shooter, and he is going to sit down and he's going to fire 20 rounds per record, okay? And he's going to fire 3 of those in a match. And so he'll fire his 60 rounds, okay? Well, he's only got 25 cases. And I will guarantee you, if you were to go through those cases by volume, by weight, by primer pocket depth, by the neck thickness, they're all the same. And if he finds a high spot on a neck, as he's checking it, he may sit down and either throw the case away, or he may mark where that high spot is and orient the round in his chamber the same way every time. So let's say he's got 2/10,000ths of a difference on one side of the case versus the other. Well, he marks the high side of the case, puts it in his chamber, and it's that way it's consistently in the same place. He's going to get a consistent shot every time because of that. What we're trying to do is take the air out of our ammo and leave it up to the nut behind the trigger. And if the precision in the ammo is good, the accuracy of the shooter then is going to increase, because if I give Phil some M55 223 ammo, and I give Travis some 262 mod 1, who has more confidence in the ammo? You understand what I'm saying? The 262 is a match rifle round. It's designed for the designated marksman, and the M855 is just a standard grunt round, which is 3 inches at 100 yards.
Minute a man.
So Travis is going to sit there and say, "Oh wow, I got this really hot stuff. I can, and then you go farther down the line and you take Jim, and Jim's hand loaded, got it all right nailed down to the center, and he goes against Travis, and Travis is going to say, okay, but Jim is going to sit down and say, I got, everything all together. His confidence is going to be better than Travis's.
I agree with you.
Oh my God, that ought to be a ringtone. Travis agrees with me for once. Jim agreed with Travis a long time ago.
Well, I was
No.
agreeing with Paul.
Oh, okay.
No,
Yeah,
no,
but
if
he
we
was backing me up.
no, if
I'll
we
agree.
get
I'll agree
Jim,
with Paul all day.
if we get Jim admitting to powder coating, and powder coating his
Hey,
bullets,
listen,
then we
listen.
got him.
Phil, you've been gone for quite a while. Guess what happened?
Don't tell me.
Jim, we have a ringtone. We even have a song, remix even of Jim singing about how first time casters should be powder coating.
I didn't sing it. I said I agree. I agree that it's a good idea for newcomers.
You're singing on my ringtone.
I don't hear it. You made it up. You faked it. You photoshopped it. You shithead.
I didn't. Hunt shoot off road did.
Rob
Y'all
tried
should
it.
put that on a T-shirt.
They
Oh,
have.
hey,
They
you've
have,
been
Phil.
gone a long time, Phil. Guess what we've got? We've got a T-shirt with me and Jim powder coating and aloxing. You can go over to my website and check it out.
I have been out of touch for a while, apparently.
Go over to my website right now and look at the shirts of Jim and me. It's pretty sweet.
Phil, even I have one. It's pink.
Oh, that's the first time my likeness has ever been put on pink. Anyway, I've said for a few months now that I agree that I think new casters need to consider using powder coat. It's a lot less messy than it's faster than lubricate size like Paul and I come from, and it's not as fast as Alox, but it is quite a bit cleaner than Alox when you go to handle the loaded ammo. Besides that, you get them little gumdrops at the end of your 9mm. It looks cute. Isn't that right, Sharenda? With you and your red lipstick tubes.
Oh, Jim, you sound like a hater. Is that what the kids say?
No, I ain't.
Yeah,
I'm not a hater. I look like gumdrops in the end of your ammo. That's all.
Okay, so Paul has ran us through the neck turning. What are you going to show us next, Paul? Where are we sitting now?
All right, we're going to size this case, full length size it. All right, now I'm going to set it up, the die up a little bit, because I don't want to move the shoulder back just yet. I just want to come in, size the case.
Now, Paul, I'm surprised to see that die in there, knowing how you like all your high-end stuff.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm just using a die that I have tested that let's clear out a little bit of room here. Does anybody see that needle move?
No, we can't see what you're doing there. You're checking the concentricity.
I'm checking the concentricity of that case. Okay.
Paul, are you able to push some of your tools to the side so we can get a good look at it?
Let's see what we got here. How about there?
There we
Perfect.
go. Okay. So hold it in the case right, Paul.
And that's the Sinclair concentricity gauge, right?
Right. This is Sinclair concentricity gauge. And anybody see that needle move?
Barely.
Barely,
I did.
yep.
About a quarter to a half thousandths motion.
Yep.
And that's overall, so that's pretty impressive right there.
All right. That's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for that case to have a straight neck.
And for the people who have never gone this far down, what can we define concentricity? Because somebody out there wasn't raised in this world or in the world of machinery.
Thank you, Phil.
Concentricity is telling me, or in the as I go around the case, through the center of the case, that it isn't varying in other words, it has very little deflection, okay, going up or down as I go through. So the center of the case is what I'm working with on this. So it goes through the center of the case. I'm measuring between the center of the case and the top of the case here. So as I put it in, there's rollers here that hold it, but it's really, that line doesn't move, and I'm just going through and rolling the case through, and that doesn't.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Quarter to half thousandths. Guys, we're talking about sizes. Let's take this and put it in perspective. The average human hair is about 3 thousandths, and I'd say about 3 thousandths of an inch in diameter. And Paul's working with somewhere around 1/8 to 1/6 of that dimension. It won't even, that much size won't even show up on Paul's electronic calipers. You just won't see it. You just can't see it. The other thing is, too, remember, he's talking about working with the axis of the case, the imaginary line that's through the dead center of the case, trying to take a work from that and keep everything within a half thousandths of an inch, 1/6 of a human hair.
Now, the next thing I measure, and I've only just straightened the necks out, I haven't moved the shoulder back or anything else. I have a 20-degree shoulder bump gauge here. You can see this is marked in degrees. It's marked 20 degrees. It's made for the 308 case. If I put it like this, you can see the case fits in there. There's no wiggle room. If I pull a Hornady out, and pick the right for I pick a Hornady out, it wants to wiggle, and when I put it in the gauge, depending upon how hard I push on it, it's only being measured by that edge. Okay, in other words, I don't have full contact with the with my gauge to do a clean measurement. So I can come up here and I got 166, let's call it 567, and I want to set that back about 2 thousandths. So I'll put it back in, and no, we won't do that. We're going to do it a different way. We're going to go into my box, one of my boxes of 308 dies. This is my 308 die box. We pull out a Forester bump gauge, a Forester shoulder bump die, and we're going to take that off, reset that. We got 331. 332. There we go, right here. Now, when you set this die up with a bushing in here, first off, the bushing goes with the bevel edge down. And bring it in, loosen this up. Solid right there. There's no movement in there. Back it off a full turn. Bring that down.
So he's setting the depth on the die at the current second. For the people who are listening, won't see anything. He's using an RCBS Summit press, which the difference in the Summit is the ram isn't necessarily a ram. Where the die mounts on the top actually moves up and down, and where the shell holder is in place.
The shell holder is fixed. The ram lifts and lowers the die.
It's like a carrier on a shaft.
Exactly.
And if I remember right, Paul, I seen somewhere, I don't remember where I saw it, but this Summit was actually one of the like, it's not a very expensive press, but it actually came out on top as one of the best presses to get for concentricity and all of that. You know,
It competes right up there with the Forester coax press.
Yeah, I can't remember where I saw it, but it actually beat out the Forester coax just because of the design and how big it is.
It's a 2-inch shaft on the back of that thing.
Yeah, it's gigantic.
It's a little heavy.
Well, it's cast iron. Cast iron and steel.
Now I'm trying just to bump the shoulder back here and taking it off and remeasuring. And we've got it down to 1,000. We've taken it down about a half a thousand.
That resizes on the downstroke, doesn't it?
Resizes on the downstroke. Almost there. We got 1,000ths there. I like it just a little more. As we see here, we started out at 0.567, and we're at 565. Bumped it back 2,000ths.
That is definitely accuracy right there.
So
What is the benefit of bumping the shoulder back?
the minimum bumping the shoulder back that we're doing right now means that we're keeping the case stretch to a minimum. We are we're not affecting the chambering of it. In other words, we've reduced the case size down enough that we can chamber the case and the bullet easily, to a point easily. I mean, with slight pressure. It's not like a factory round where it just drops the bolt.
How many
We're
thousandths are you bumping that shoulder back, Paul?
2000s.
2000.
We started at 1.567 and we went to 1.565.
Yeah, so you're bumping that shoulder back the bare minimum to be able to effectively give that cartridge enough clearance in your chamber to close it.
In a bolt gun.
Yes.
If I was going to reload for a semi-auto, I would move the shoulder back another thousandths. Give me 3 thousandths. Next, we've checked that we've put the neck slightly, moved it in slightly with the bushing there, but we want to make sure it's straight. This is a Precision Products pin gauge expander, and with pin gauges you can get them.
Can you hold it up just a little bit?
Okay, and I'm going to show you the pins in just a minute, but it's held in with a,
it looks like a collet.
It is a collet, and it's a little tight. There is a collet in here. It holds the pin gauge in there, so we can move it around, so we can use it to expand cases. And we have different sizes we can use.
Those are your actual mandrels right there.
These are the actual mandrels, right?
And they start off. How much do they a thousandths increment?
Half a thousandths.
Half a thousandths. Wow. Okay.
Half a thousandths. And then if you really want to be anal retentive, you can do plus or minus 200 thousandths on that. Okay. So these are precision centerless ground mandrels or pin gauges. The one that I have in right now is set up with 0.3065 for my neck tension. You want, when you use these, do not tighten them down. You want just a little bit of wiggle room in there.
Now, Paul, to get a guy started off on a die like that, where's he going to know which mandrels to buy? Like, how does one go about figuring out how much neck tension and stuff they want?
Neck tension is, I'm going to switch over here to the regular screen here for a second, and we'll talk. neck tension is going to be anywhere from a half a thousandths to 3 thousandths. I wouldn't go more than 3 thousandths. That's basically what I have set up here. So if we're looking at 308 and I'm at 3065, I got 1.5 thousandths of neck tension. There is some spring back with the brass. And I know I don't have all my stuff where I'm at now, but I would have at this point here, after expanding, I would have annealed my brass
After expanding.
after expanding.
And that's specifically for that spring back of the brass?
Specifically for that spring back of the brass, yes.
Okay.
Because I'm at the point where, if I was doing this, I'd do at least 100 cases, a full box of brass. Some guns though are going to want a little more neck tension than 1.5 thousandths. Some may want 2, some may want 2.5 or 3.
Paul, if I understand you right, you're saying that you want your inside of your case neck to be 3 thousandths, somewhere between 1 and 1.0015 thousandths and 0.003 thousandths under the bullet diameter. Am I correct?
Yes.
Thank you.
Guns are going to, yeah, go ahead.
Vanessa wants to know, does the final shape change after you anneal?
No, I have not found that annealing after everything is done that anything's changed. All we've done is soften the brass. That's all.
Now, how come we didn't anneal before we did all this?
Because we're going to work harden it all. I go do all this stuff after we've made this brass dead soft, and then I go run it through all these dyes and all these procedures, and we're back to being a hard brass again.
Okay.
So I want my brass to be dead soft for what we're doing, and this is the easiest and most consistent way to do it.
Okay.
I could have stopped after we bumped the shoulder back and annealed, and then gone on to use my pin gauge die, expanding die. But I just find it's easier for me just to anneal all at that point, because I know then it's dead soft. I mean, they're all going to be the same out of that lot of brass.
When you say dead soft, you mean return to softness of the same consistency as factory ammo?
As close to as I can get it, yes.
As new brass.
Yes.
Brass. It doesn't matter if it's factory ammo or what. But
right.
You're getting it as soft as it could possibly be made.
Right.
Thank you.
And some brass is I've found this, that my 6XC that I've started loading for, the Norma brass is harder than the Lupua brass. Okay, as if I was my 308 Lupua brass is softer than my 6XE Norma brass. So I end up running it through this way, so I know at least I have everything as soft, as close to factory as I can get it. So Precision Products, they make the pin gauge expanders, and you can sit down and see that they grind it nicely, and they're all marked, they're laser etched, so you can go through and pick it out. They charge $10 a pin. The die body is, I believe, $35, $50 for the collet, and the cap comes with the die body.
And I do believe you can pick those up at Brownells.
Okay, I go right with Right to Precision Products, and I've been dealing with them, and
They probably know you by name, huh?
yeah, I don't know about that. They get a lot of fancy people there, that look at things. I really have a hard time because I could go to 21st Century Reloading, and I like their stuff. Some of their stuff is really nice. But when I went to look at their expanding mandrels, and they wanted like $165 for their 5 or 6 expanding mandrels, I kind of took a step back. They do make a really nice neck turning tool. I'm waiting for mine just to see how it works, and we'll go from there. Review to come. Questions? Anybody got any?
I think
Vanessa,
we're all just trying to take all this info in, Paul. This is a little overwhelming sometimes, but what was you saying, Mike? Vanessa's got a question.
yeah, she says, are you annealing the brass before you start moving the shoulder back and checking concentricity?
No, I move it before I anneal it.
Okay, so you're doing all the work hardening, and
Right.
then the annealing is after. So you're not annealing before and annealing after. You're just annealing after.
Right.
Yeah, this is kind of the part I'm still having a hard time wrapping my head around, though. Annealing after the fact that we've done all this stuff. When, like, if we would have asked this question before you started telling us this stuff, I would 100% said no. We need to anneal before we move forward and do any of this work. I can see how you're saying it's going to work harden, but I guess I'm still just having a hard time with that part of this.
Okay.
The other question that was out there that Miss Kitty asked was, are you checking concentricity after annealing? Have you ever done that?
Yes. Not a problem.
Concentricity isn't affected.
Isn't affected.
So
Thank
could you possibly, would it be pointless or useless to anneal it twice, like once before you start going and then?
Sure, you can do it if you want to put the work into it. Not a problem.
I mean, would you be
it
gaining
does-
anything other than
it-
not working your brass too much?
It's not going to affect your it may make it easier for you to move the shoulders back. Okay, you may not need to do everything as hard as I'm doing it, maybe, but at the same time, I'm using a short handle.
Yeah, I don't think for me the problem would be like how you're. I mean, we're working with brass, so brass is a fairly
Yeah.
soft material to begin with. I just see the softening your brass, the wear and tear on your brass, because I mean, Jim and I, we anneal our brass, and that's the first step we go to. So now
Right.
you're running us through all this real precision processes, and we're talking about annealing afterwards.
So have you noticed any difference now? You look, I'm using this little handle here. Okay,
Yes.
this is the small handle on this press. So that's how I'm doing this, and we're getting, consistency and everything. So I'm not really worried about if I'm slightly work harding my brass. Remember, I'm annealing every time. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't want you to
So-
think that I'm questioning you, Paul,
No,
because
no.
if there's anybody that I would take any advice from on reloading, it's going to be you. So I'm just trying to wrap my head around kind of rethinking
Yeah.
this
Okay.
whole process of how I like annealing wise for like this precision rabbit hole we're going down.
Okay. Well, we'll look at it. Think of it this way: you're sitting there. I want that soft brass to go into my gun, right?
Yes.
Okay. So annealing's got to be one of the last things that I do before I charge it, prime it, charge it, seat it, and shoot it. So I'm not looking, if I anneal last, okay, then I anneal last.
Okay.
If I anneal first, it's easier for me to run my stuff through the steps. But what have I done? Haven't I worked hardened all of it? I mean, I've turned it, I've sized it, I've expanded it twice. I've set the neck down a little bit twice, and the last thing I did was run an expander through it. So I've done a lot of work to that brass.
Yes.
If a regular reloader just looked at it and said, "I'm going to size my brass. I'm not going to worry about neck turning or whatever," he's putting less work into that case mount than I am with what I'm doing here. So I want my final bit to be soft.
Now,
Makes
Paul,
perfect sense.
I got one question before we leave this episode. Are you a guy who measures cartridge overall length or cartridge base to ogive?
Cartridge based ogive.
You did that just to tweak your organ, didn't you?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Sure, Travis.
And
Oh,
I also measure from cartridge shoulder to the tip of the bullet from the shoulder.
Yeah, I've been seeing a tool, the same primer seating depth gauge you were talking about that I have earlier. They make one that measures precisely that, and I've been debating on picking one of those up too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I have a. Well, I don't want to pull it out now. It's all packed away. It's on the one side, and we haven't gotten to that part of the reloading, so I will leave that alone for right now. Because next week you get to learn how to prime a case,
yep,
charge a case,
yep.
and seat a bullet.
So, so yeah, definitely we're gonna. I don't know if we're gonna seat bullets next week, but we'll definitely be priming them and charging them. So, but we're gonna talk about equipment too. So we might not get all the way through primers because there's a lot of different ways to seat primers. So.
Man, I don't know about you guys, but whenever Paul's on, I get anxiety. He's just got so much info to throw out there, and it just makes you feel like you've never reloaded a day in your life, and and you've got to learn it all over again. And
Just breathe in and breathe out, Travis. You'll be okay.
some of you guys make fun and say that I spend your money on certain things. Well,
Paul spends Travis's money.
Exactly. Now I'm like, oh, now I need to buy this, and I need to get this, and I'm never going to see my kids again because I'm going to be down here turning necks, and
You got to get the kids to trim the next for you.
I'm going to tell you, if you take this little thing off and put it on a power tool, and they have a power ring that slides over this part of it here, so it's easier to twist on and off. You can go through a lot of cases really pretty quick.
There you go.
Take this and
yeah, but honestly, with how precise you're showing us, what we just went over, I feel like you don't want to hook up. I'm all for, you guys know this, I'm all for like powered trimmers, everything like that. But in this instance, this is one rabbit hole that we're going down that I feel like you've just got to do it by hand because of how precise we're going. But that's just me.
well, the way to do it so you can do it with it is not to get one of the, a drill. Okay. Black & Decker makes these little screwdriver like ones.
Yes,
that
little
turn
12.
it about, what is it? 7 or 8 RPM, and it fits right in there, and you can run it up and run it back.
Now, Vanessa, that question you've got right there, that's going to be a whole nother thing that we got to go down because Paul is a scale snob. Paul has got some of the good stuff, and that deserves its own hour and a half discussion on scales alone.
It goes down to a 10th to 100th of a grain.
And
Yeah.
David Emery, you're 100% correct.
Well, I just saw that A&D came out with a new scale. It isn't set for reloading. Measuring reloading is trickling in, but for measuring, measures out to the thousandths of a grain.
It measures atoms.
Yeah, a thousandth of a grain.
It's going to be a long time before I'm that far down the rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Well, Phil, before we leave, where's book 2? We're all dying to know where book 2 is.
Like I told you, jerks.
Hold on. And where's the 338 Lapua? We've got the 2 questions
Okay.
that need answered.
Okay, well, the sequel to American Insurgent is, like I was telling you all before, and you well know, I got about 3/4 of the way through writing the sequel to my first book, didn't like it, scrapped it, started over, and I've decided that in the interest of keeping the podcast as my focus, writing is just a side gig. So I give it a little bit of time when I can afford to. I don't stress over it. If I have writer's block, I've got, especially right now with everything going on, it's much more important that my podcast stay focused, that I stay focused on family and my own preparedness journey. So that's the best I can tell you all about writing. I've got a title, I've got a cover, I've got like a working draft, and I put a little bit of time into it here and there where I can. But I'm not trying to scrap everything else I'm working on to be an author. And the 338 is still at the gun store, mostly because probably about 6 months ago, myself and my co-host started to get very concerned about the food supply and some potential supply shortages down the road. So I haven't spent a dime on anything gun related other than a couple of Manus Technologies products. And I've been like whole hog worried about making sure my non-perishables are stocked up, making sure that I've got a chest freezer filled with quarter beef and adding to it every time I get the chance. I'm trying to make sure that I can feed my family. And a 338 is as much fun as I would have with it is not going to fit on the dinner plate very well.
Well, Phil, I have a suggestion. Since you have to start over on book 2, can we please?
I'm not putting you in it.
Oh man! Well,
Thank God.
I'd be dead in the first chapter, I'm sure.
In that, well, you just talk me into it.
Let's at least get the main character to drive a 4-wheel drive Toyota and have a 338 Lapua. Phil, I gotta let you know, I've missed you. I'm happy to see you back.
Oh, good grief.
Yeah, I mean, I told y'all I'll pop in here and there whenever I get the chance.
Yeah.
But, you know.
Phil,
With
it's been hard dealing with Jim without you here, and I really miss the fun ribbing that you and I give each other, because it's just not the same with Jim. I mean, I hope you went over and looked at that shirt that I made for Jim. I try to joke around with Jim. He just isn't having it. So it's good to have you back.
He tries to give me the same shit he always gave you, Phil.
So what's the problem? You don't take it as well, or you just can't dish it back out?
I just don't care.
Oh, he dishes it. He dishes it. I think Jason is wearing Jim's shirt.
He comes by that honestly. Though.
Travis has got to admit, the day I saw that damn T-shirt he made up for me and him, I was howling. I was
Yes.
I thought it was great.
If you guys haven't seen this shirt, you need to go over to my website, Buckeye Targets, and just look at it at least, because I think it is hilarious. And everybody on the podcast knew about this shirt. We kept it a secret from Jim. I made sure that when he got the package, he was on the phone with me when he opened up that shirt. Video chat, yep. And I wanted to see the look on his face. Part of it is I wanted to see how funny he thought it was, but I wanted to know if I ever seen him in person, if he was going to kill me or not.
I would never consider such a thing.
I mean,
never consider such a thing again.
I mean, it's more a probability that I'm going to see Jason before I see any of you others. So I always know way out. Am I going to die when I meet this person, or how is this meeting going to end? I'm pretty sure if I meet Jim or Phil, I'm dead.
Nah. If you ever show up on my front lawn with an invitation, I mean, I'm just going to stick a beer in one hand, a cigar in the other, and tell you to sit down, and we're going to start telling lies and stories to each other.
Notice he qualified it too. He said with an invitation.
I know, yeah.
Yeah, give me 5 minute heads up to put pants on, and I'll welcome you in.
Oh man!
But seriously, Phil, it's good to see you back.
Likewise, guys.
It's been a blast.
Amen to that.
I mean, we've got a couple new panelists there. I mean, you can see. I mean, you haven't heard from him, but Nick, he's up there in the left corner. He's usually pretty silent.
This is I don't know much about this. I learned a lot from Paul tonight. So with my old military rifle reloading, this isn't something I deal with every day. So
well, we've all learned a little something from Paul. That's for sure.
Yep.
Absolutely, Paul.
Chris Sharp.
We only got you just started at
Dipped our toes in.
The Mad Hatter just came by. That's all.
Hasn't even gotten the teapot out yet.
Yep.
And Chris Sharp, I even texted Jason last night, told him his package is ready to go. I had to order. I spent several $100s on bolts, and I'm waiting for them. They'll be here tomorrow, and then his package and his targets are heading his way, so they will be sent out by the end of this week. And I expect verification from Jason when they show up, so you guys know that he actually got his package.
He's going to verify it in about 5 years, like you took you 5 years.
No, it's just in time for when Jason packs everything up to move to Idaho. That he's got to haul all that heavy stuff back with him.
Well, now you just divulged my secret, Paul. Thanks a lot.
Travis, do you even remember what you said last week's podcast?
Well, I said I'd have it before this episode today, but
right,
I had to order bolts, man.
Okay, all right. I'm just asking. Do you remember what you said?
I got it. You can mail them the bolts individually.
No,
spread them out like 1 or 2 days each.
Oh, hold on. Idaho Rogers has got something to add.
So it's like, Jason, there you go, another 5 years.
Uh,
Well, he'll get his package before you get your package that I sent to Mike for you. So Mike's no better.
The Island Buckeye Express is not very fast.
still faster than Island Express, so.
I've commingled the two. Island Buckeye Express.
Oh, there you go. So GGW Reloading wants to know when Paul's coming back. 2 weeks. So GGW, what we're going to do is next week we're going to go back into the basics. And then the following week we're going to dive back into the rabbit hole. And then the following week after that we're going to go back into the basics. And then back down the rabbit hole until we get all done with rifle reloading.
That sounds good. You can't be overwhelmed every week.
Everybody's brains has exploded.
Yes.
Oh, that's awesome. While you were spewing poetically, Travis, I said I need some hip waders, and so that Vanessa asked about the hip waders, and I said for all the bullshit you were spewing, and then she says a full dry suit and full self-contained breathing apparatus prevents smelling stuff. So I think I might have to go with that. Hey, Nick.
Been a rough one, guys. Been a rough one.
Nick, good news. Your dad wants to spend some money.
Oh man, he doesn't need to spend more money.
I didn't say he needed to. None of us do.
This show
Looks like
is
I have
personally.
a phone call with him after this. So
I'm pretty sure this show is personally responsible for my father spending some of my inheritance preemptively. But I'm going to get it all eventually, so I'm not
you
upset
get
about
it, just in a different format.
Actually, every time I pull that out on him, and I'm like, "Yeah, well, go ahead and spend whatever you want because I'm going to get it anyway." He always tells me he's going to will it to my brother,
Nice,
which is
guy.
just rotten because the
Right?
hell is he going to do with it?
Travis
Exactly.
is going to send you a shooter's kit. For your kid. Okay, Phil.
There's a reason that's in the private chat, Jim.
Knuckle butt.
Here's Jim, the operational security guy, and he's telling the secrets in the private chat.
So it goes.
Oh, good grief. All right, gang. If you want to send us comments, you can do it a couple ways. Reloadingpodcast@gmail.com.
Ray, damn it, stop that shit. You're bad. Raymond Rowden, I'm spending Nick's inheritance. LOL.
can I kick him out of the show, please?
No.
Well, Nick, I think your dad has said more on this podcast than you have tonight.
Yeah, I give him that.
Oh, that's awesome. So, yeah, reloadingpodcast@gmail.com, or you can send us a text or leave us a voicemail, 608-467-0308. You can also leave comments on the show notes at firearmsradio.tv/reloading-podcast. We can also reach us on various social media platforms, Facebook, MeWe, and we also have a Discord channel. So,
Now, Mike, what if I wanted to become like a Patreon or something? How do I go about doing that?
what's a Patreon?
That is where I give monthly donations to the show, and depending on my level of that donation, I may or may not get something. Such as Patriot Patch Co. patches.
So what you're saying is if you'd have just hushed for a minute and waited for me to get to that part,
Well, that's
you wouldn't
not the
have
way
to ask your question.
That's not the way I do things, though.
Yeah, you and Jim both.
I'm impatient.
Yes, you are. Any rate, so one of the other things is, that, as Travis was alluding to, is Patreons. And those are folks that send us money every month. and there's 4 different levels: $5 and $10, which is just support to the show. There's a $20, which gets you signed up for the Patriot Patch of the Month. Patriot Patch Company is bandwidth sponsor of this program. We greatly appreciate them. And then there is the Lead Farmer level, which is $35 a month, and it gets you a $25 gift certificate to Patriot Patch Company every month. If you want to do that and you want to support the show, you can go to firearmsradio.tv/pledge-reloading-podcast. We greatly appreciate everybody in the past and current that has supported us. It helps us do all sorts of fun stuff like this, and helps us get equipment so we can make the show better, so we can have better video, so we can have better audio, so we can help you spend your children's inheritance. So newest sponsor is Primary Arms. And if you're looking for a fun little 22 scope, they actually have one with their ACSS reticle. It's $119.99. It's a 6x32. So it's a 6 power. So you're probably not going to use it for short distance, since it's a fixed 6. But if you're shooting 50 or longer, it'd be a really good, fun little toy to pick up for that 22. So, you really got to go to primaryarms.com and take a look at their ACSS reticle. It is actually a pretty cool little reticle. So,
yeah, and I was just listening to what's it called with Lefty, the AK Corner, Talking Lead. And he was just talking, or one of the guys was just talking about how Primary Arms has a pretty decent red dot for the AK.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, a red dot for the AK and then a fixed 3 power. I haven't looked at what they look like, but they sounded pretty interesting. And then
Yep.
I do need to know, Nick, do you prefer Copperhead or the .177 or the .22?
Travis, don't start that.
Good job, Ray.
Your dad. Sorry, Jim.
Oh, no.
No, it's all right. Ray got his son really well.
Yeah, he did.
Well, hey, you've gotten this long and you haven't shot your eye out, so I mean, you're doing something right.
Oh, good.
Just don't shoot steel with BBs.
Oh,
No, you can do it. Just make sure that you're a decent enough distance away so it doesn't come back at you.
well, it sounds like Nick doesn't have that problem because it's not even a real BB gun; it's airsoft. So,
Damn it.
That's
Wow.
a shame.
That's rough.
hey, if you guys listen to our buddy Full Ed Taco, he's got the podcast over there with the Gun Dudes. It's now called the Concealed Taco Dudes Podcast. They've really gone down the rabbit hole hardcore on air rifles. So if that is something you guys are interested in, go check out that podcast. And it, with the way things are right now, these air rifles don't sound that bad to get into.
Tell you what, air rifles are very, very serious. You get up in a 50 caliber, 45 caliber, even 357 caliber air rifle. You're talking about somebody to take
They're
out.
taking
like
out
out there.
whitetails.
So,
Yeah. These aren't like the Red Ryder BB guns we grew up on. These are some high powered stuff.
This
Yes,
isn't
they
a
are.
pop-up gun. This isn't a side cocker. This is a high pressure with a air, like what, 3,000 psi tank.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's Taco's got one that's 4,500 psi.
Jason, what'd you say?
I said, yeah, right around there. There are higher PSI
A lot
versions.
higher. I don't even. It'd be hard to find an air compressor to give you that much.
You can't. You got to use what you have to do is either have somebody fill it, or what a lot of people are doing is they'll get a scuba tank, have the scuba tank filled, and then you fill the gun off the scuba tank.
Yeah, that's what Taco's doing. Like I
They
said,
do
his tank's 4,500 psi.
They do make electric compressors now. They're about $400 to fill those up.
Yeah.
Yep.
My kids are firefighters. If I got into that, I just give them my tank, tell them to go fill it up.
There you
Well,
go.
Well, Jim, the other cool thing is if we did shoot air rifles, they shoot generally soft cast pellets,
Mhm.
and that's right up our alley. And guess what?
Powder coat them.
I was gonna say no powder coating, no A-locks, so we might have found common ground.
Oh, jeez.
We need to
Some-
sign off.
Yeah.
Some of them use
We're going way off.
rifle
topic.
bullets,
Yes, they do.
lead cast rifle bullets. So
Yep.
you can be,
Yep.
25 caliber.
And you could
100
be casting your own bullets.
Right.
So, all right. Anyway, gang, that's all we got for tonight. So, like I said, next week we're going to go back to the basics. We're going to talk about priming the case and possibly charging the case. We'll see. All right, gang. On that note, keep your brass shiny.
Be an asset, not a liability.
Jump on a Meltzer bus.
Always make sure you buy a 4-wheel drive Toyota when you get the chance.
Phil?
Grow a beard. Don't make it weird. No. Buy it
Travis
cheap,
screwed
stack
that up
it deep.
already.
Buy it cheap, stack it deep.
Paul, do you have a tagline you want to use?
Really? Depending upon what my grandpa told me, nah, that's okay.
And Jim?
Support the Second Amendment. It's the most important thing you can do. Take someone shooting. They are the future of the 2A.
Right. All right, gang. Thanks, everybody, and good night.
Bye.